You may be seated. So I forgot, during communion, we'll do all the stuff to get ready for communion. There'll be a station right here, so the bread and the cup. So we want you to come from the back down this aisle and exit back around that way. Does that make sense? And we're not dismissing by rows, so whenever you want to come up, just come up if you want to share. So those are the final instructions for communion. Check. John 13, 31 through 35. That's the whole thing. That's what we're reading. John 13, 31 through 35. You'll find the words on the screen behind me. If you've got them, you want to follow along that way, you can. I'm going to read it twice because there's not very many verses there, so I got to take up some time. So, before we read it, let's pray. God, once again, we come to this book, these scriptures, and we hope that we're open. And if we're not, we ask that you would open us, that you would open our hearts, our ears, our minds, so that however it is it works, we hear your voice here today. Come, Holy Spirit, do what you do because we need it. Amen. When he was gone, the he there is Judas. So there's the whole foot washing thing. Then there's the, hey guys, Jesus says, one of you is going to betray me. And they're like, what? And then Judas gets up to leave, and Jesus is like, hey, do what you're going to do quickly. And so he leaves. That's where we are in the story. So when Judas left, when Judas was gone, Jesus said, now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will glorify the Son in himself and will glorify him at once. My children, I will be with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and just as I told the Jews, so I tell you now, where I am going, you cannot come. A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Again, when Judas left, Jesus said to the rest of them sitting there, now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will glorify the Son in himself and will glorify him at once. My children, I will be with you only a little longer. You'll look for me, and just as I told the Jews, so I tell you now, where I'm going, you can't come. A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Whew. So we're going to concentrate on two verses. I'll talk a little bit about another one, but in fact, let's start there. My children, I will be with you only a little while longer. My children, I will be with you only a little longer. So last week we asked a lot of questions, like 50 some maybe. So why don't start with a question this morning just to kind of make it feel like it's comfortable for us. If you knew that you were going to die really soon, like you were about to meet your end, what would you tell the people in this world you love the most? What would you tell them? What hope, what dream would you express? If you knew that you were going to die really soon, like you're in your last hours, and you only had a few hours with those you love the most in this world, what urgent piece of advice would you give them? That's kind of a sobering question, isn't it? What we just read a few moments ago is, at least in part, Jesus' answer to that question. So let's again set the scene. Jesus has just finished washing the disciples' feet, right? Without saying a word, expressing a lot. He's just finished washing their feet. Judas has just left the room to go do Judas things. You know, the thing he's gonna betray. He's gonna betray Jesus. The crucifixion, the clock on it is tick-tock, 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 tick-tocking away really fast. The end is really close. Jesus knows his closest followers are about to experience one of the most devastating things of their entire lives up to this point. So he gets right to the point. There are no parables here. There's no talking around things. There are no stories. There are no cryptic sayings. Just a command. One command, right? One simple, straightforward commandment summarizing Jesus' deepest desire for his followers. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Those are some of Jesus' final words. First, a command. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Second, a promise, maybe a warning. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. So he knows there's no guarantee here. We might not do it if you love one another. So first, a command, as I have loved you, so also you must love one another. Then a promise. By this, everyone else in the world will know that you belong to me, that you are my disciples, if you love one another. That's it. Some of Jesus' final words. I want to take a moment and stop and just think about what Jesus doesn't say. Because what Jesus doesn't say is really important. It's as important as what he actually does say. And we've talked about some of these things before. But think about this. Here's Jesus standing on the doorstep of death. It's coming. We're hours away. God in the flesh has just a few hours to communicate with those he loves the most. The heart of his teaching, the heart of his life, the heart, what it all means. And he doesn't say, believe the right things. He doesn't even go there. He doesn't say, believe the right things. He doesn't say, hey, make sure you maintain doctrinal purity. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say, hey, make sure you maintain personal purity. Doesn't even go there. He doesn't say, hey, make sure you attend a church like this, and then he describes it along with a list of beliefs that church is supposed to believe in so that you can go. He doesn't say that. He doesn't even say, hey, read your Bible every day. Make sure you read the scriptures every day. He doesn't say, make sure you have a 15-minute quiet time with a cup of coffee before the sun rises, as the sun rises in the morning, before anybody else wakes up. He doesn't say, make sure you pray every day. He doesn't even say that. What does he say? Love one another. Love one, that's it. Think about how profound this is. That's the last dream of a man who is about to die for his closest followers. It's all of our faith tradition, the whole thing, distilled down to its essence so that maybe we'll stop and think about it every once in a while. Love one another. That's it. Love one another. Now, on the surface, doesn't this seem kind of like a weird commandment? It does to me. I don't know about you. Love one another. Can we really be ordered to love? Can we be ordered to love? Can someone else make us love another? Can we be ordered? Can we really be ordered, commanded to love? Most of the time, I think we would say no. Most of the time, we would say no because we've been formed we've been formed by the big screen and the small screen and the even smaller screen now. We've been formed to think of love as something that's spontaneous. It's free-flowing. We don't decide to love. It just sort of happens to us, right? What do we say about love? We fall in love. Nobody tries to fall. Like if you fall, that's an accident. It's just something that's happened to you. You tripped over something, or your shoes don't fit, whatever. You fall. You don't decide to fall. You fall. So we fall in love, right? We say love is blind. We say it sometimes happens at first sight, So to command love is like, I don't know. I don't know about that. Okay, those are the cliches. We'll set them aside. We know that real, authentic love cannot be manipulated. We know it can't be rushed. We know it cannot be coerced. We know this about love. Those of us who are parents, we know that it's useless to try to force our kids to love each other. We know it. It's useless to command love. The best thing we can do is order our children to act as if they love each other. Like, that's the best we can do. Hey guys, share your stuff. They're not gonna break it. Share your stuff. Hey guys, say you're sorry. I'm just gonna look at you. Say you're sorry. Hey guys, don't hit each other. Hey, use nice words. Be kind to one another. Hey, please stop annoying each other on purpose. Right? That's the best we can do. We can't order them to love each other. The best we can do is to order them to act as if they love one another. Right? And then our kids will do what we ask them to do, but it'll be through clenched teeth and after a big sigh. Everyone knows it's not just you, it's their own, right? It's us when we were your age too, right?
I feel like I should go give them
I love you, guys. Now everyone knows you're normal. Finally. Everyone finally knows you're normal. Sorry. Okay. So Jesus doesn't do that. He doesn't say, act as if you love. He doesn't let us off the hook. He doesn't give the followers of his followers, which includes us, the easy way out of just being nice and just being kind and doing nice things and being kind to one another. He says, as I have loved you, so you must love one another, as in for real. The whole shebang, everything I've shown you. Authentic feeling, deep unity, selfless action. I mean, really, it feels like he's almost asking the impossible here. And maybe he is. And maybe that's his point. G.K. Chesterton once wrote, you may have heard this before, but it's so good I'm going to share it and it fits. The Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and left untried. Oof. I mean, what would happen to us? Here's a question. Maybe I'm just going to do the question thing from now on. Here it is. Here's a question. What would happen? What would happen to the world if we actually took this commandment from Jesus seriously? What would happen to the world if we actually took this seriously? What would happen to our faith tradition? What would our faith tradition become? What would it look like if we actually took time to cultivate this love that seems impossible? What would it look like? What would happen? I think these are important questions to ask, and I think I have some idea of what what it might look like, and it feels like we might be living into that here. And I don't know exactly how to answer it or what it would look like, but here's the deal. We know how to do things, don't we? Absolutely, we know how to do things. And maybe this is how it starts. We know how to take a Sunday off and go to the bridge home and do some yard work. We know how to write checks to places like that and others. Like, we know how to bring a bag of chips and a 2-liter of Mountain Dew to the church cookout. Like, we know how to do things. But do we know how to love as Jesus loved? Do we know how to feel the deep, gut-wrenching compassion that Jesus felt? Do we know? Do we hunger for justice so fiercely that we're willing to actually reorder all of our lives and all of our priorities in order to make it happen for other people? Do our hearts break for what breaks the heart of Jesus? Do we want any of that? Do we? Because most of the time, I'm not sure that we do. We might as well be honest about it. We'd rather be safe. We'd rather keep our circle of friends, our social circles, like smaller and more manageable. Most of the time, we'd rather love people based on, I don't know, shared perspectives and preferences and shared practices and shared beliefs, not on Jesus' all-inclusive command to love. Charity we can do, that's easy. But cultivating true love for the other, for people who believe different things than us, people who act in different ways, that's hard. Really, really. Acquainting ourselves with other people's pain, acquainting ourselves with the pain of the world so that we can actually do something to ease that pain and bring healing, that's hard. And yet Jesus spends his last moments with his closest followers. He knows the end is near. Death is coming, and he says, this is what I want. This is the most important thing. Which means we have a God who wants each one of his children to feel absolutely, fundamentally, unquestionably, deeply loved, not judged, not shamed, not punished, not manipulated, not coerced, not isolated, but deeply, deeply loved. That's what he wants. And then there's the other thing, there's the promise part of this thing. He says, by this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. That's it. That's the thing. That's the litmus test right there. Not beliefs, not doctrinal or personal purity, right? Not the right church. Like those are somewhere down here, right? Love is up here, and those things are somewhere down here on the list. And the older I get, it feels like the farther down they get. Love. It's love. Love, love, love. Our love for one another is how everyone else in the world will know that we're Jesus people. Our love for one another is how other people meet, find, see, touch, experience the presence of Jesus. Our love for one another does that. Have you ever used a typewriter, the old school one? Sorry, left turn. Have you ever used those? Like, think about it. You can feel it, right? You push those keys down. Like, people back in the day had really strong hands, because I've done a typewriter. It's like, oh my goodness, you can hear the clickety-clack in your head. Now we've just got these keyboards on our computers that just kind of tick, 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 tick. You can barely hear it. You don't have to push it down like a fraction of an inch or less. It's hardly anything. Now think about your smartphone. Or think about your tablet. The keyboard on that thing is essentially a glass, just a sheet of glass. The keys, do we call them keys anymore? I don't know if they're keys anymore. What do we call them? Like your texting, is that a key? I don't know. But they don't give our fingers any sensation whatsoever. Guess what? Phone designers know that, obviously. They also know that people want some kind of sensation to know that they've touched a screen. Right? People want something to tell them that when they touched the screen, it actually did a thing. So phone designers built this thing in your phone called haptics. Have you heard of this? You can turn them on, you can turn them off if you don't care, but a lot of people like the haptics turned on so that if you tap a thing on your phone, it makes this little buzzing, it vibrates ever so slightly. That little bitty buzzing thing lets you know that yes, in fact, you just did a thing. It worked. The tiny little vibration is haptics at work. Without it, you just trust that you hit the right key, app, button, thingamajigger, I don't know. Buzz, you touch the glass, and now you felt that something happened. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples. You belong to me. If you love one another. That tiny little phrase, everyone will know, suggests that our love for one another has a kind of haptic feedback in the world. It's something that's substantial. Lets everyone else in the world know who witnesses it that they're now in the presence of someone who follows Jesus. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. There's a buzz there. There's a haptic feedback there. I don't know about you, but this makes me go, uh-oh. Like cringe face emoji. By this, they will know you belong to me if you love one another. I think what Jesus might be saying here is that when we fail to love one another, then the rest of the world won't learn what it needs to learn about God. That if we fail, he might be getting at this. When we fail to love one another, then people won't know the things about God that they so desperately need to know. And if that's the case, maybe they'll start believing some things that might break God's heart. Like this whole Jesus thing is just a sham. Like there's no real power in this thing we call the resurrection. That God really is just an angry, bitter parent in the sky who wants nothing more than to just shame his children. Like the universe is cold and dark and meaningless. That's if we don't love one another. That's if we fail. That's how high these stakes seem to be. Everyone will know that you belong to me if you love one another. And to be honest, we've done a lot of failing. A lot of failing. The church just hasn't loved very well. In fact, we've done a lot to normalize divisiveness and bitterness and separation. That's part of our legacy. Sometimes it's over really small things. Sometimes it's over big things. I know of a church that made the move to have drums. And the drums were objectively way too loud for the space. Everyone knew it. Like a drum was hit and your eyes blinked because you're like, ugh. So the leadership of that church decided that they were going to do something about it. They were going to buy a drum cage made of plexiglass. Put it around it. It's got a lid on top. It's really helpful. Dampens the noise. And they thought, how are we going to pay for this? Well, we'll do a special offering. So they passed the plates, asking people to help pitch in so that we can make this better for everyone. And then when the people counted it at the end, they found a note in there and they pulled it out and it said, I'm going to keep my money, get rid of the bleeping drums. It was put in an offering plate. an offering to the divine. Sometimes it's things like that. Little churches get little fights and tiffs about stuff like that. Sometimes it's bigger, on a grander scale. We're a part of the Reformed Church in America. Our little region is called the Classis of Central Iowa. Just a few short years ago, we had 19 of us, 19 congregations. Right? Now we have 4. Oh, 4. All because we made money and issues surrounding human sexuality more important than love. What are we doing? We're not the only ones. How many denominations do we have? Oh my goodness. It's a new number every day, seemingly. And we're separated by the most minuscule things. What are we doing? Seems like we might want to live into this love thing with a little more urgency. Some good news. Jesus doesn't leave us alone, and Jesus will not leave us where we are. We actually have a direction. We do. We have a roadmap. We know what to do. Why? Just a few words here. As I have loved you. As I have loved you. He's already showed us. Do what I do. Love as I love. We know what to do. We absolutely know what to do. As I have loved you. Weep with those who weep. Mourn with those who mourn. Laugh with those who laugh. Touch the untouchables. Do it. Include the people who have been excluded. All of those boundaries that y'all have set up to separate yourselves. Cross them. They're worthless. Go over them. Feed the hungry. Visit the prisoners. Free the oppressed. Free the captives. Forgive anyone who's made a mess of things. Forgive them. Confront the oppressors. Stand with the oppressed. Just wash each other's feet once in a while. We know what to do. Jesus said, "For as I have loved you," we know what to do. Think of it. God didn't just say, "I love you" in a big booming voice to all of creation so that everyone would know. No, God became one of us, lived among us, and actually showed us what to do, actually loved us. How did God prove his love for us? Well, the scriptures say that he proved his love for us by sending into the world his son, Jesus, who then loved and lived a life of love. And then eventually, in the most stunning act of love ever, gave up his life for the world. And I'm going to end it the same way I did a little bit ago. He gave up his life for the world in love. Now it's our turn. It's our turn. We get to do that now. So let's do it.